Happy Saturday morning. This is Jacob Folger, and I am a sculptor and an artist, and I am here today to show you how to make a dog out of polymer clay. We're going to be working with Sculpting brand number 3. It's Sculpting 3. That's what we're going to be working with. This is an oven baked clay. You bake it in your home oven. You'll want to follow the instructions on the packaging, of course, but usually it's 275 degrees, 15 minutes per quarter-inch of mass. So the thickest part of your sculpture, if it's an inch, it would be an hour, 15 minutes per quarter-inch of mass. Okay? This is what I recommend, is Sculpting 3. You can use what you want, but you might find yourself ending up buying Sculpting 3. It's just a really good product. I liked it a lot. I've tried other brands, other stuff, even other types of Sculpting, and found it to be very difficult to work with. Sculpting 3 is the brand I recommend. I am not this is not a paid endorsement. I just like this product. The Sculpting is fairly easy to work with, but the main thing is you have to remember is to knead it, get it nice and soft, and what I call warm to your hands. So in other words, when it warms up to your hands, that's where we want it to be, okay? And a couple tools we'll be using. These are just wood clay sculpting tools. They come in plastic as well. A package of them are around $9 for between $6 and $9 for several different versions. I only use 2, and actually these 2 I've been using for many years, and this particular one I've seemed to been able to hold on to better. This one I lost for a couple of years and then found it again. And then sometimes I use an X-Acto knife, and you can use household tools like butter knives and spoons and things like that too. The Sculpting, by the way, that costs about I've been paying around $14 at the local art store for a pound of it. It also comes in 2-ounce packages and 8-ounce packages that I've seen, and I have noticed that you can buy it online sometimes for cheaper if you look around, like possibly on Amazon or eBay. You can look around and see if you can get it cheaper, but at my local art store it's around $14. Okay, so that's about it for the tools and that sort of thing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And usually when I'm sculpting a dog or a figurine of some form, what I'll do first is I'll start with a base for the dog to sit on. And so all I'm doing here is rolling a ball of clay. I have kneaded this a little bit already since before the video. And then I'll place this on, you can also have a little board to work on. I'm working on just a base that kind of keeps everything fairly well lit for the video. And then all I do is I take the ball and I press it down onto the board that I'm working on, and so that it flattens one side like that. Okay, and that just gives me something to work on. Then also, you know, if the feet or the tail is just, you know, kind of off by itself, you know, if you have a base, it protects it and keeps it all tied into the center of the sculpture, as opposed to being out there where it could possibly break off. Okay, so next we want to have a this dog is going to be in a sitting position, which I often do when I teach a class on dog making, and I'm just trying to decide on the size I want here. I guess this would probably be considered a miniature. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to roll a ball, and I'm kneading it. When I roll the ball, I'm also kneading it then as well. And so I'm going to roll a ball, and then I'm going to roll it into a shape like this. So this portion would be kind of the lower part of the body, and this is coming up in a cone shape to the neck. And then I'll just place it on here, and I'll just turn it and pressing and turning to get it to seat onto the base that I've made. Okay. Next we're going to do the head, and I'm just going to push this back out of the way here. I'm going to roll a ball. That is the same as kneading. If you roll it, what I do is I roll it this way, making it a ball, like that. And then I roll it this way, making it a noodle. And then I roll it back into a ball. That's the same thing as kneading, or I could just go like this. You know, squishing it between my fingers. But we're going to roll a ball here. And then I'm going to hold it to the sculpture and just see if it's the right size. I think probably it'd be better to make it a little bit bigger. So I just added a piece of clay to it. And I think that's probably a better size there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is just take my fingers and pull out on one end of it to create the shape of a nose. And that kind of gives you the basic shape of a nose. Okay. Now another tool that I didn't mention that I often use is a paintbrush, a small paintbrush like this. But I actually use the other end. And I use it for eyes a lot. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just basically going to poke it in here behind the nose to create the eye pupils. I mean, excuse me, the eye sockets. Now, if you look at my sculptures, most of the sculptures I make, you'll see that the eyes I almost always do them the same way, like this. And the reason why is because I really like expression. I think it's important, you know, to have expression, and so I almost always do my eyes like this. So what I'm doing now is I've rolled a little ball and I put it in there. Now that is the eyeball. Okay. I don't want it sticking out too far, but I do want it almost level with the with that eye socket, the top of it. So I just roll two balls and just set them in there like that. Then what you can do is you can take a smaller paintbrush, like this is a really small paintbrush, and this back portion is just great for putting in the pupils of the eye. Now keep in mind, if you look in the mirror at your own eyes, you'll see a darker portion in the center of your eye. That's called the pupil. And if you can, if that wasn't there, the dog would just look blind. You would look blind and probably be blind. So I have always, since the beginning of time as a sculptor, I've always tried to give my little creatures pupils so it looks like they can see. What I'm doing by doing that, by taking the back of this brush and putting in these little pupils, is I'm creating shadow within the eye, which makes it look like the eye has color. It is a hole in the eyeball, but it's creating a shadow which makes it look like he's got that he can see, and then he's got, you know, pupils and eyeballs and everything that he needs to be able to see. It's the appearance, and this is sculpture. So now I'm going to take a noodle. Okay, now I'm going to take a very small noodle of clay just by rolling it between my fingers like this, and I'm going to put it over the eyeball. And this will take some patience and time. You may not be able to get this the first time you do it, but you can just practice it. Like anything in life, pretty much everything requires some practice to learn how to do it. And so the one thing I usually try to remind people is that if you look at your eyes and your eyes are wide open, really wide open, you'll be able to see the whites of your eyes on the top above the pupil. If you do that, you can see it really looks a little bit weird. It almost looks like you're either very high on drugs or something, or you're just really surprised. And we really don't want that. I actually want my dog to look kind of relaxed. So I'm going to make sure that when I do these eyelids, that they're covering just a tiny bit the very top of that pupil there, where we inserted the paintbrush and made a little hole there. Okay, so now I'm putting the other eyelid on. There we go. And then just sort of snipping it off at the end. There we go. Now, another thing to remember about eyes is with this type of eye, where the eyelid is set in there like that, that can create a lot of expression, and you just gotta pay attention to it. And you don't want to. I don't want it to look angry, so I'm careful about this portion here, right here. Okay. I also want to make sure that the eyelid at the top is blended in well, and everything is smooth. And this is where a tool like this comes in handy, especially for small work like this. Now, I would consider this video to be a video for beginners, okay? But again, you may, if you're just picking up polymer clay or any kind of clay for the first time, it's going to be, again, you're going to have to practice. You know, to be expecting that you can just pick this up and do exactly what I'm doing the first time out of the gate is really expecting a lot. Not to say you couldn't do it, you might be able to do it, but you might have some difficulty and you're going to have to practice a little bit. But this is definitely a beginner video. Okay, I'm just smoothing here, getting it nice and smooth. Okay. Next up, I want to give some definition for the mouth, okay? And I could just draw in a line, taking my knife and just drawing in a line like that, okay? But it will look a lot better if I take a piece of clay and roll a noodle. Let me just get that going there. Roll a long noodle like this and put that on, just press it into place to define the mouth. That would be the upper lip. This gives some depth to the face. And then you can take your little sculpting tool and blend it in at the top. Like that, to just make it, you know, to make it look good. And then you can just kind of sculpt it on the bottom. But what I'm doing here by showing you this is showing you that how to achieve a look of something that you see by actually demonstrating how it's sculpted. So if you look at a picture of a dog, and in fact I do recommend always to look at pictures of dogs if you can, or whatever you're sculpting. You can go online very easily and just do a search on I recommend Google just because it's the biggest search engine there is, and it's very fast, and they have a lot of images. And you can do a search for dog images or dog sculpture images, and you can get ideas that way. Don't worry about copying it. You're probably not going to be able to copy anything that you see there anyways, unless you're an amazing sculptor prodigy or something. You know, it takes a lot of years to get to the point where you can actually copy anything anyways. It's I don't even know if I can copy anything. I don't even know if I can copy anything that I've made. So, you know, that I've made, that I've invented myself. Not an exact copy anyways. Okay, now I'm just adding a little bit of a lower jaw in there, just by adding little bits of clay. Of course, this part is by far the hardest part of sculpting, is the face. That's going to be, or one of the hardest parts for sure. Okay, so now he looks a little bit like almost like a little dinosaur. We're going to keep going though, and we're going to roll a little ball of clay here for his nose, and we're just going to, this is his nose. So we're going to roll a little ball of clay and set that on the end of the end of his jowls there to create his nose. And then what you can do is take your little tiny paintbrush and just add little nostrils like that. And also to achieve expression, you can decide how you want the mouth to look. This is where coming, you know, we're looking at pictures of other dogs is going to really come in handy, or even looking at this dog when you're creating it. You also can take the nose and change the size of it by blending and making it smaller. And of course, this is really pretty much definitely a miniature here. You can upsize all these instructions, everything that you're seeing here, to make something bigger, or downsize it to make it smaller. It might be a lot easier for you as somebody that's just starting out to sculpt something bigger, definitely, than this piece here. Oh, there we go. So now we're going to give him something that is going to let us know that he's definitely a dog, and that's probably his ears. It's definitely going to help anyways. So we roll a little ball, and we want 2 balls the same size before we start putting them on. And the reason why is because then you're going to know that you got the same size ears on both sides. A lot of people ask me, they say, how do you get the ears to look so right, you know? Well, first of all, usually, unless it's a cat or something like that, I don't ever make them both the same, exactly the same. First of all, I don't make both the ears exactly in the same position unless it's like a cat or something like that. That's how I do it. But you know, people are like, how do I? I mean, I had somebody was watching the videos was struggling with cat ears. He was trying to make them exactly the same. He said, how do you do it? I mean, it looks like you're just touching the clay and it's doing it on its own. Well, it's really not like that, but But you know, you do this enough, of course you're gonna be practice. The practice is what makes it perfect. But really the secret is 2 balls of clay starting before you do anything else. Making 2 balls of clay. And then you just put you just cone them a little bit. Just squeeze one end like that, and that changes the shape of it. You put the ear on there, and just blend it in all the way around. For the tight area there, you use a tool here like this. And then to add life and whimsy to the piece, one of the ears is going to have to be doing something different than the other ear. And I don't know if you've ever seen, I have a dog, she's always got one ear flopping down and the other ear standing up a little bit. And it not only is it extremely cute, but it you know, just really adds to the whimsy of the piece. So this is not just about sculpting a dog, this video. This video is about form and showing you how to make something look, you know, closer to life, not just jacked up, standing at attention. I use that terminology a little bit frequently when I'm doing my videos. So what I'm going to do once I get those ears on there is I'll squeeze them a little bit to give them some more size. If you squeeze them, of course, what's going to happen? They're going to get bigger, right? The clay is going to spread and they're going to get bigger. And then what you can do is you can just push one down like that and just make it look a little floppy. I think I might even do that with both of them just for fun. So there you go. So there's most of the dog's face there. Okay. You can take your finger and smooth the clay like this. This clay is not, you can't smooth it with a paintbrush and water like I usually do with water-based clay. This clay is polymer clay, so it's not gonna, you can't do that with water on this. But you can smooth it with your finger or a tool, and do it like that. Let's change the size slightly on these a little bit. It looks like that. Okay. Next, we're gonna go ahead and put it on the body, and I do like to, when I'm adding a major piece like the head or something like that, I do like to score the top of the, you know, the 2 parts that are joining. It just will make it easier for them to join and stay together. So scoring them with a sharp tool, and then without trying not to, of course, obscure the work that you've done. You got to be careful of the eyes, but just twisting maybe the base a little bit more than the head to make it join better. And then holding the head in place, you can take a tool like this and join the pieces, blending the parts together. Should be fairly adequate in keeping the parts together. Like that. Now, also another thing to keep in mind is the position of the head can also give you expression, so we're gonna touch on that as well. Now, okay, now we're going to start working on the legs, and if you look at a dog or a picture of a dog, you'll see that there's a for the back legs, there's a hip first, and this is the hip. All it is a ball of clay. join to the body. We need 2 of those, so I made 2. But again, and I do this all the time, so I'm pretty good at making things the same size, even though I don't have them standing beside each other like I showed you with the ears. I've done this so many times. So, you know, usually I can get it right. But you might want to make 2 balls the same size before you start to join them. You can see these are, you know, very close. And so we want to join them to the body by blending. Like that. Maybe just sort of cutting them into the base a little bit like that. You know, expression is always, you have to keep in mind, we're trying to make this an expressive dog. We don't want just a dog. And having him sit there like canted a little bit, you know, he's sort of like canted on that's good. We like that. We don't want him to be all jacked up at attention. We want him to look realistic, you know, like or he might not look really realistic. He might look somewhat comical, or you know, comic-like or cartoon-like, because just because how he's turning out. But still, we want to kind of remember what a dog looks like and some of the things they do. I rolled 2 balls, created 2 small oblong shapes. Those are his back feet. And we'll just put them right in here, and I'm turning them inwards a little bit, keeping in mind I'm working on my expression now. I want them to look cute and funny and that sort of thing. So we got that going there like that. All right, we're gonna put on its back, on its front legs. This would be a good time to roll two balls for the front legs. Make sure that they're same size. Look at that. See, I told you I could do that really well. It's just from practice. And then I'll roll 2 noodles here, and you can see I'm ambidextrous, meaning that I can use my left hand as well as my right. Okay, and so we're going to just press that into place there. Again, I use the tools a lot here just because it's such a small piece, but usually when I do a sculpture I don't even use the tools hardly at all. I really prefer to use just my hands. But for this piece, it's a lot easier sometimes to get the to get it, you know, blended in properly and that sort of thing. Blending is really important sometimes. You don't want to do it all the time, but definitely sometimes, because you know, you want to make sure that the piece is going to have structural integrity and that it's not going to break apart at some point. There we go. And just a lot of it is just kind of looking at what you're doing and paying attention to it and trying to get it to look as close to lifelike as possible. We'll go ahead now and put on a tail. And this is what I said earlier when I said I want to make a base. The reason why I make a base is almost always for the tail. I'll just put it on here, blend it in. See, if that tail was standing off by itself, it could easily break off. You don't want your piece breaking on you. Just blend it in all the way around. There we go. Now we're working on the final parts of expression, and this clay is soft and pliable, so within reason you can move it around a little bit. Like it's really cute when dogs tilt their heads like that. So that's kind of cute like that. And now you take your time and go around the entire sculpture and blend it. Make sure you're blending and getting everything blended and cut in and looking pretty good. And for sake of demonstration, while I could spend more time on this little dog, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a nice little finish that I do. And I may still come back. You can, even with the finish on, you can do work on it. But for the demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and take this. This is bronze powder, gold powder. You can put it on the source list for the tools and supplies that you need. And it's actually a metal powder. And I use it a lot in my finishes, and that's why I sculpt in black. Actually, that's why I sculpt in black, because then I don't have to paint anything, and the finish will last for many years. So before I bake the dog, I put the bronze on just with my finger. When I dip it into the powder, I swirl it with my thumb, and then I just sort of apply it so that some of the black is showing through, because it is basically a little bit of an antique finish. I'll just go around the piece like that. I often leave sculpting marks in my pieces so that you can see that it's like a handmade sculpture, and it just gives the piece more character. But I do recommend trying your best as a new sculptor, beginner artist, to try to get the piece as smooth as possible, because it's part of the learning process. And then you could use a brush a little bit for parts that are kind of hard to get to, like here and here. But that just shows you how to do that. It's a very pretty finish, and once baked, it will last. Not only last, but it'll just be really a solid finish. Now let's just talk a few more minutes. We get about a minute left here about some of the things you could do. You could put a ball under his paw. You could bring his head forward so that he's like yearning to see you. So there's a lot of different things, and you could think about that as you're sculpting too. Like, what do you want him to look like? My name is Jacob Folger. I'm a sculptor and an artist. I share what I do. I share on both YouTube and Instructables.com, and you can see my work, my creations at Etsy.com, jakecreates.etsy.com, and I'll put that link in the video here. And if you have any questions, please ask me. If you like this video, please like it, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.